What's up, everybody? Hard pass back at you again. NFL Spotlight, Jacksonville Jaguars. Today, Remy, what are we saying?
A little bit of upside here. Been pretty tough the last couple of years being a Jaguars fan. I don't expect a great season, but I
Right.
would expect some steps forward from this team. Looking at the roster, there's still some tough spots, but a lot of young guys in some key positions. So there is some reason to be excited if you are a Jaguars fan.
Yeah, I think if you have Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, you can always hope for the best, and it's always going to be fun to at least tune in to see what they're about. If you're a Jaguars fan, you have some future that you're maybe looking forward to. So we're going to dive on in to the depth chart, of course, and at least there's we just got done doing the Texans, and at least there's some football names on this roster.
Actual players.
I'll tell you what,
on this team.
Moment of silence for that Texans team.
That's tough, man. Like I said, there is some optimism here for Jacksonville. I will say, like if you look across the board now, I've touched on it a couple times and other things. I don't love the offseason moves from the playmaking standpoint that they've made, but it's still better than what you got rocking in Houston. So, young, I will say that this team is pretty young, especially Trevor Lawrence coming into a second year. Travis Etienne coming technically second year, but first year playing.
First year, really, yeah.
So you've got some hope there.
They threw the bag at Christian Kirk. So
Christian Kirk, like I said, I don't necessarily love some of those signings, but
we'll go through the signings and we talk about each of the, of course, skill positions. We're going to start with the quarterbacks, and then we got to start with Trevor Lawrence. And didn't have a great year last year. It's pretty bad, I think you could say. 12 touchdowns, 17 picks. He's a rookie, though. And he's a Jaguar.
That's something you got to take into account sometimes with these rookie quarterbacks. When you're the number one overall pick, you're going to the worst team in the league. So, it's going to be some growing pains. You don't become the worst team without having some weaknesses, So they didn't fill all of those weaknesses his first year. So naturally, I think you could have expected some struggles. Now, personally, the way that they've talked about this kid for, the last 5 years of our lives was that he was the next coming of, Andrew Luck and all this stuff and how hype he was as a recruit. And I don't quite have him at that tier. I never really had him at that tier of like Andrew. Now, did he deserve to be the number one pick? I think so. Yes, he did deserve to be the number one pick. But some of the struggles last year didn't necessarily shock me.
Right.
I didn't.
Here's
him coming in and
I don't want to say I don't want to compare the two, but a lot of his throws are shades of Sam Darnold. Now, I'm not going to go and say to that extent how bad Sam Darnold's career has turned out because he, with the Jets and how terrible offensive line and spiraled out of control, no skill position, blah, 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 blah. But if you go back and watch him in college, he makes a lot of bonehead throws. He thinks he could fit it in every window slot. Bring it over to NFL. He's doing the same things. Now, he's a rookie, and he could figure it out. I'm not all the way out on him, but I'm also not all the way in on him like you are. Kind of like you were saying.
Yeah.
He's got all the talent in the world, dude. He's athletic. Yeah. He's tall. He can spin it. But there's been a lot of tall, athletic guys that can spin it that didn't make it because they couldn't process the information that they were seeing. And if you remember him back in Clemson, he never really got any better. I remember watching him. We watched him a lot because we're Gamecock fans, clearly. He came on the scene like a rocket. He was like, this dude's going to be good. And it's like, this dude's still good. Like but he never took that next step like everyone was saying, like you said, an Andrew Luck or even a Deshaun Watson. You remember Deshaun when he came in and he tore his knee. But he got better. You remember watching him just get better at Clemson. This dude, he wows you with the arm talent, but he also goes, bro, what in the world are you thinking?
Yeah.
And I've seen quarterbacks come and go in this league that does the same exact thing. I'm rooting for the kid. I'm rooting for Jacksonville in this one. I hope that they figure it out. I'm not saying 17 picks, dude. We've seen quarterbacks come in as rookies and throw crazy amount of picks.
I mean, Peyton Manning threw 20 as a rookie or whatever it was. So it's not like, oh, it's over for him. You gotta give him some time.
I got my microscope on you, brother.
Yeah. And in today's NFL is different. Now, like I said, of course, Peyton Manning threw a ton of picks as a rookie, but here lately, that hasn't been the case for some of these rookie quarterbacks.
They come in and ball out.
You've had a lot of rookie quarterbacks come in and play pretty well over the past 5 to 10 years. So it's a little different than it used to be back in the day. Now, like I said, I think that they did everything they could to try to help him. I just don't think they went the right direction here. So I'm gonna say third, but if things go the right way for Jacksonville, he could be the second best quarterback in the league.
He could be better than Tannehill.
Yeah, he could be. He could very easily be better than Tannehill.
As bad as Tannehill's been in the playoffs, he's been to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You see what Tannehill has done. I can't give Trevor Lawrence that right yet. I think he's definitely more talented than Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
Could be more talented, like arm talent wise, physique wise, skill set wise. But dude, quarterback is more mental than it is physical.
Yeah, and Tannehill, he's not going to wow you, but he's proven it over the past couple of years in Tennessee that he can be a good starting quarterback in the NFL that can lead a team to the playoffs. So I'm gonna say third, but easily could be second when we wrap this season up.
Sky's the limit for this kid, though. Sky's the limit for this
kid.
Hell,
could be first. I mean, shit.
Yeah,
he could be the best quarterback in this division.
Yeah.
If things go the way they expect him to go, we'll have to see.
Moving on to the running backs. We had James Robinson, who's been so good for so long. He got hurt. He's battling back from his injury. Pretty substantial one. I think he tear his knee or something.
It was a bad injury, and it's been pretty crazy. Like
it's Achilles.
Achilles. There was a lot of talk of him starting the season on the PUP list, but he's not going to. He's gonna try and come back and play sooner rather than later. So, I mean, last year was such a weird year, of course, with all the Urban Meyer stuff. And of course, we look at everything we talked about last year for Jacksonville, and you got to take into account that they did have Urban Meyer as their head coach. But when you go back and look at James Robinson, the beginning of the year, it was so weird. It was so first off, they drafted Etienne, which was odd because Robinson was the only good spot on the team the year before. So they go and draft a running back. Now, I get it. It's Trevor Lawrence's college teammate. He had a really good college career. Don't necessarily know what he is at the NFL level yet. But then they come in and Etienne gets hurt. So you're like, hey, door's still wide open for James Robinson. And Urban Meyer's out there throwing Carlos Hyde at us.
Yeah,
and it was such a weird situation. But once they started letting James Robinson be the bell cow again,
his numbers started.
He started to put up numbers. I mean, if you go look at, like I said, if you go through the first couple of games last year, 5 carries, 11 carries in the first 2 games, and then all of a sudden it picks up 15, 18, and you start to see some good stuff. But then all of a sudden we get into the later in the year and they start toning him down again. So it was really weird how they handled James Robinson last year. Listen, if you're averaging 4.7 yards a carry, you should be a bell cow in the NFL.
Yeah.
But
5 for 25, 11, 15, 18. Then you see him start picking back up. Then he takes the dip. 4 for 22, 12. It's just very weird workload for him. We know when he's healthy, he's a good player. He's a good player. He's a good player. So
I mean, it is an interesting dynamic between the two of them. I think Etienne's going to be more of your pass catcher.
You draft this guy in the first round, you expect him to ball out.
Yeah,
a running back in the first round, but he is going to be a pass catcher. He can be a slot guy. He can be kind of an alternate. We'll see about Etienne. I think he's super talented. But is he an NFL running back?
We'll see. And I will say this now. As far as where I put them, I'm gonna put them third, but they're the best 1-2 combo in the division.
Yeah, I mean nobody else. 1-2 combo. But these other two, they don't need a 1-2.
But the two ahead of them, you don't need a second guy. There's no reason to have a second guy. So I like the potential here, though. I like the ETN Robinson combination. I think it's a very good 1-2 combo. And today's NFL, there's not many dudes in today's NFL like Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry where they are the
guy. Yeah.
So I think it'll work out well for the Jaguars. I just think Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor are
I definitely think
running backs in
if you can compare and contrast the two guys, they combine to be a Jonathan Taylor or, that's how special those other two guys are. But the difference between Travis Etienne and James Robinson, they're pretty different. So that's good. Yeah. You need that.
Yep.
That'll be good. So we're going to put them, like I said, we're going to put them at third at the running back room. Moving on to the pass catchers. Where do we begin with these pass catchers?
I think this was the off season that just
it kind of got away from them.
It got out of hand.
They kind of got a little carried away in free agency. It got a little out of hand for them, and it got away from them a little bit. And you know what they did? We're talking numbers here, and sadly, if this was any other sport like baseball, it wouldn't matter. But this is football, and salary cap matters.
It does matter.
And you throw the bag at guys at a bunch of guys who were never number ones.
No. And it is an improvement. It's an improvement. Last year, their number one was Marvin Jones after DJ Chark got hurt. So it is an improvement. It's just such an odd way to spend your money where you go Christian Kirk with probably one of the biggest overpays in a long time, unless this kid balls out now. He, last year, best year of his career. But he was the third best receiver on his own team.
For his whole career.
Yeah.
Sometimes the fourth best.
Yeah.
Sometimes he didn't even play. I mean, he had a good year last year for injuries and other stuff that happened. Yeah. But Christian Kirk's he's not when you close your eyes and you think of Christian Kirk, you think of him streaking down the sidelines running one route. He's not a great route runner. He's not the best hands guy. He literally is a speed demon who gets open because their quarterback would scramble around like crazy and was Kyler Murray. I'm not a Christian Kirk guy, so this is going to sound one-sided. I think this is one of the biggest overpays I've ever seen in the history of football. And just strictly for his talent-wise, if you're going to give that money to a number one, bro, he is in the conversation with some crazy good wide receivers financially.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, financially, he's top 5.
Yeah.
And he ain't that. So that's odd.
I get it. They wanted to make a little splash, but dude, I'm not a GM. I don't know their cap numbers. I'm not exactly sure what they got going on. But I could tell you paying Christian Kirk top 5 wide receiver money probably is not the best idea.
No. But then also you look at it. So Marvin Jones has just been a solid player his entire career.
He's a solid number 2, number 3 guy.
He's one of those guys where like every year you just kind of expect him to disappear and he just never does. He kind of sticks around and he's put together a really good career. Mm-hmm. Now the issue is he's 32 years old. He's when do we start to see the decline? So if it's this year, that's real bad. Because then outside of him,
they
brought
Chenault,
in Zay Jones.
And they traded Chenault.
And they traded away Chenault.
I think the whole Chenault thing was crazy because talent-wise, I still think Chenault has a lot of talent. I don't know how he fits the Panthers he got traded to. I think physique-wise, he's a lot like Christian Kirk physique-wise.
I think Chenault, the issue is I think they want to use ETN in that role.
In his role.
Yeah. In that role. So it made him expendable here. So, and then Evan Ingram at tight end and free agency, like we've seen Evan Ingram long enough. We know he's just not that good.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
people
okay,
have been waiting on him to turn the corner for how long?
and he's just not going to. I mean, he was a first-round pick as a tight end. He's just never going to be that guy. So it's a lot of guys where, like I said, I think it is an upgrade from last year's Jaguars, but it's a lot of weird moves in the pass catching room.
It's
like I don't love it.
It's like you start here, right, and then you spend all that money just to get to here.
Yeah,
it's like not enough improvement for the money you spent. For me, if I'm building a roster.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
But I'm gonna come in and we're definitely gonna put these at 3.
I'm gonna put them at 3. Now, I will say I don't necessarily love Indianapolis's pass catching situation, but they have an actual what I think will be a number 1 receiver in Michael Pittman.
They have a dude.
That's the difference. That to me, that's the difference.
You think the Tennessee Titans have better pass catchers than the Colts?
Yeah, I think Treylon Burks has the potential. I mean, if you look outside of Michael Pittman, who's catching the ball in Indianapolis?
But Michael Pittman's like top 5, top 10 wide receiver in the league.
I know, but Paris Campbell's the number 2.
Yeah,
and then Alec Pierce, who's
the number 2 at the Titans?
Robert Woods.
Okay, well, Robert Woods is pretty good. I'll give you that. I'm sorry to get us off Jaguars. I just thought that was interesting.
But I'm just that's like I said, I don't love Indianapolis's pass catchers, but like I said, I think Pittman being an actual number 1 still puts them ahead of Jacksonville. So,
Jacksonville, depth wise, it's like you got a couple guys.
Yeah,
you got guys who've caught some touchdowns in the past.
Yeah. It's a better situation than Houston.
Looking at their O-line, they brought back Cam Robinson. They got Brandon Sheriff, one of the
massive piece.
Interesting offensive line. What's your opinions on this O-line?
I love the Sheriff pickup. I think that was massive. Of course, Cam Robinson's kind of come into his own here lately.
Yeah.
Juwan Taylor's an early pick from a couple of years back. There's pieces in place.
Right.
I think that there is pieces in place. Sheriff's one of the best guards in football.
Right.
Robinson is a good young left tackle. If Juwan Taylor can step up and be one of the better right tackles, there's a good core here. Now, at the center position, the left guard position, those are question marks. Overall, I like it. This one's tough for me. I'm not going to put them ahead of Tennessee. I think Tennessee's
it's close with the Colts, though. This was kind of close with the Colts.
The Colts have Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly. They've got 2 really good pieces, but they've got some question marks outside of that. I will honestly, this is tough. I will say I'm going to put them ahead of the Colts overall.
Yeah, I think just sheer depth-wise, like, of course, Colts have the better of the 2, but Sheriff's a damn good guard. He's not too far behind him.
Yeah.
And I don't think Cam Robinson's a world beater at left tackle, but he's a good left tackle.
Yeah.
He's one of the better ones in the league.
For sure.
When they drafted him really high. And turns out all he could do was run block.
Yeah.
He was practically a right body. He was practically a right tackle playing left tackle. But he's figured it out. I think bringing him back was huge. We'll see how Juwan Taylor he's a young guy that they got a lot of hopes for. But overall, I think this is a pretty sturdy offensive line.
Yeah, it's definitely not the worst. It's better than what Houston's throwing out, and I think it's a little bit better than Indianapolis, but behind Tennessee. So I'll give them second offensive line in the division.
I can get behind that. Now we're looking at the D-line. The D-line's a bunch of who's.
This is awful. They run a 3-4, so they're going to be running 3 defensive linemen. Now, we don't include if you run a 3-4, we don't include your outside linebackers as your defensive linemen. So if you're just going based on the 3-4 D line,
one of the worst defensive lines in the league.
This is bad. Fourth. It's tough. It's but I mean, Houston's not throwing out anything any good, but this is still worse. I don't know who any of these guys really are.
Yeah. They just need him to take up room, to be honest with you.
Be big.
Now here's where it gets better.
Yeah.
I like their backers. Because, their backers end up being out the rush linebackers as well. Travion Walker is going to be a stud.
They got the
This
number one
kid-
overall pick in Trayvon Walker.
I don't know if he was. I don't think he was the number one overall
I
pick.
don't think he was either, but
But
at
he's-
the end of the
he's
day,
a-
he's still going to be a good football player.
He's a damn good football player.
You got Josh Allen, who's proven himself to be a really good football player. They also get Devin Lloyd to come in and be inside backer, also first-round draft pick. So they get 2 linebackers in the first round this past year with a proven Josh Allen.
This is a pretty good backer.
This is a really good linebacking core. Like, not just in this division.
But
This
like
is
overall.
So the other middle linebacker, the Olakun guy, he had 192 tackles last year. He led the NFL in tackles. So
Are we saying one?
Yeah.
I think we have to say one.
Honestly,
and don't get me wrong. We know who the Colts middle linebacker is.
Yeah.
But overall, the depth wise, there is just some ball players at linebacker here.
Josh Allen, Devin Lloyd, first round pick. Olakun led the league in tackles for the Falcons.
And then
last
Trayvon
year,
Walker
and
is a
Walker,
problem.
number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
If they can get anything out of it. And you look behind Walker, you have Clavon Chason, who was supposed to, be something.
Right.
This is a good linebacking core. I'm going to say this is the best linebacking core in the division.
Yeah. I can get behind that. And going into the secondary, it features a guy that they overpaid for. And Shaquille Griffin. We knew it when they did it. We just said that they had to go get a guy, and we're like, we don't like that. Remember us literally talking about this same exact shit that the Jaguars do. Turned out he didn't have a good year.
No.
No, he would. The secondary is not great.
No, the secondary is pretty bad. They do have the luxury of being in the same division as the Texans. So third.
By default, you get third.
By default, they go third, but it's still one of the worst secondaries in the league.
Yeah.
Top to bottom.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. I think it quickly can become fourth. We'll see what whatever his name is.
Stingley has the potential to push Texans above the Jaguars for third in the division.
So overall, like we said, not great at some spots, but really good at linebacker. Mm-hmm. Like really strong good there. That's that. If I'm a Jaguar fan, you can't wait to watch those boys get after the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And guess what? If you can block, which we said they also have a pretty good offensive line, and you can rush the passer, that quarterback
things could happen.
Things can happen. You're gonna need Trevor Lawrence to take a step forward. That being said, what's the win total?
So they won 3 games last year. I don't see
they double it.
That's kind of where I was leaning. I don't think they take a massive step forward, but I would say probably 6 wins.
I was gonna say 5, but I think they double it. Now that I'm thinking, I think they end up winning 6 ball games.
They got some players. They got some players. They should be able to stick in some games.
Yeah,
it's the NFL. You never know.
QB room 3, running back room 3, pass catching 3, O-line 2nd. We like their O-line. D-line 4th, one of the worst D-lines in the National Football League. Backers, one of the better backers groups in the National Football League. And the secondary is a bunch of overpaid guys, they're just patching together. We'll see if Shaquille Griffin can kind of rekindle his form. I never thought he was that good anyway back in Seattle. But this is the price you pay for when you build teams through free agency. It's just
a tough way to do it.
It's a tough way to do it. That's for sure. That is it for the NFL Spotlight Jacksonville Jaguars. 6 wins this year. Might be watchable. We'll see. We'll be back next with the Indianapolis Colts. Peace.